Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Be Well, Be Keto. And today's guest is adorable. His name is Anthony Benedettini, and he works at a wonderful company called Perfect Keto. He has in the past worked with wine, and he understands like energy and meditation, and we talk about carnivore, and we just go down so many rabbit trails that I'm sure you're going to enjoy the show. It is so refreshing to talk to young people that are embracing a healthy lifestyle. So let's go and say hi to Anthony.
Welcome to the Be Well, Be Keto podcast, where we showcase ordinary people who have achieved extraordinary results. Your host is the high energy girl, health coach, and personal trainer, Tracy Gluhite.
If there is a way that you could literally turn back the hands of time, have a better mood, more energy, libido, greater muscle tone, improved memory, healthier hair, skin, nails. I know I want healthier skin, lose the chicken neck, better joint flexibility and mobility, some fat loss, especially around the midsection, increased strength and bone density without having to swallow a bunch of pills. If there was a way that you could have all these benefits, would you want to know about it? Well, the answer is here. We have the only FDA-registered transdermal, over-the-counter human growth hormone product. To check out some juicy details, head on over to highenergygel.com. Have you joined the Facebook group yet? I have a new Facebook group called High Energy Girls, and that is pretty much where I'm hanging out these days, and I would love to have you a part of the group. So head on over to High Energy Girls on Facebook. Hey, Anthony, thanks for coming on the show today.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, you are adorable, and I'm excited for our listeners to hear your story. So for those that don't know you, why don't you let them know a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Okay. So I am 25 years old. I had partnerships over at Perfect Keto. I've been in the nutrition space for a long time now. I'd say for about 4 or 5 years. And I started off out of college. I actually dropped out of college and got a nutrition certification and started health coaching for a bit. And that led me into the low carb keto space, where then I got in touch with my previous job and worked at a keto friendly wine company for 2 years. And that all led me to here. But over the past couple of years, I've been going to pretty much all the major health conferences and health events, keto focused and non-keto focused, around the nation. So I've got a pretty good grasp on, what the current trends are, and I've just seen the field evolve over the past couple of years, which is really exciting. And it's really cool to see the direction of it now and how much it's blown up in the past couple of years.
Yeah, totally. And what nutrition school did you go to?
I got certified by Precision Nutrition.
Okay.
Which is John Berardi is the founder of that, and he is one of the ones who wrote pretty much the Bible on intermittent fasting when it first got popularized. I'd say like four years back when it just started blowing up. He wrote this comprehensive guide that just kind of went viral on the internet. Oh,
okay. I'll have to check that out. I haven't seen it. But I love fasting. I just feel so much better when I'm fasting.
Yeah. What kind of fasting do you practice?
I'm all over the board. Sometimes I do OMAD. I really love just one meal a day. That's how I feel my best. But with my job, I'm in sales. And so I'm oftentimes, a lot of the manufacturers want to take me out to lunch, or I'll have to do lunch with a doctor or something like that. And so then, or if I'm lifting weights, then I make sure that I eat more during the day just to, help with my muscle.
Yeah. Have you ever tried like an early intermittent fasting, like an early feeding where you maybe eat breakfast and lunch and then skip dinner?
No.
It's it's tough. Well, obviously, socially we're all primed to eat dinner at a certain time. So I tried this out for a little bit about a year ago, and it was awesome. I mean, it takes a little bit to get adjusted at first, but if you have someone to do it with, it's a lot easier. And just having that, I think going into sleep, you release your biggest surge of growth hormone right about at midnight, like right when you go into deep sleep there. So fasting into that window really helps accelerate the deep sleep and get more of those hormonal benefits. So I found that I was lighter. I obviously wasn't as, and I don't want to say obviously because everyone feels different, but I definitely wasn't as sharp in the morning. But once you get over that hump and then you get momentum, you really just kind of pick back up into it again.
So what health benefits did you notice physically from that?
Physically, I slimmed down a bit. I was losing a little bit more weight than traditional, and that's because I think when I do it traditionally, and if I'm doing one meal a day or two, I'll tend to eat a lot more at night. So, I mean, when sun goes down, melatonin starts secreting, and our digestive enzymes kind of stop working at their peak rate. So a lot of that just kind of sits undigested. And so with that, I found that, when I was going to sleep, I would wake up and just have so much energy because there was nothing in my system. My body was just like, yeah, let's go. So that would kind of accelerate my early morning workouts too. And it just made it's kind of cool to switch it up and get excited about breakfast again after not having done it so long.
So how did you do that for like a week at a time? Or, I mean, did you just do it intermittently or?
Yeah, it was a couple weeks, and then it was like a couple week experiment, and then obviously I just went back to it. I mean, everyone that I work with was typically doing one meal a day, and we would have big dinners and really just get together. So, like I said, it's harder socially to do, but I think that with all of the research on circadian rhythms now, and a lot more science coming out with showing that, eating during the day could be a lot better, especially just for timings and like hormonally speaking. I think it's a cool experiment to try, but it's just tough to do it without someone to do it with you, or, when you're obviously going to dinners and you're in sales and all these other factors.
Did you feel hungrier because, you had a little bit of elevation in your glucose and insulin by eating breakfast? So that's going to give you a little bit of elevation. Did you notice any hunger pangs?
Yeah, it was the only hunger I got was like, I was naturally hungry in the morning, which is good. I haven't felt that in a while. And then at night, I was not hungry at all. So it was, after I had that meal, I usually stopped around 1, 2 o'clock, and then I just wasn't hungry. I was just like, I would just stay focused, or like go to a library or go to a coffee shop and really just kind of zone out there. But yeah, I wasn't getting hungry in the evenings. It was more so just in the mornings.
So the other thing I want to comment on is that I'm really impressed that somebody at your age started studying nutrition, when you were 21?
25.
No, you're 25 now, but you started studying nutrition when you were about 21?
Yeah, I not officially. I was always into it because growing up, my dad was a bodybuilder. So I was technically I got into fitness when I was 15, 16, and that just started my journey. I lost 15 pounds one summer, and that really just kind of kicked my journey into health. But then as I started to, actually, funny story, I got grounded in high school for getting caught smoking weed. And so I learned how to cook in that time, and because I wasn't allowed to do anything else. So I cooked in that time and then cooked for my family all throughout high school. And just being in touch with cooking got me so much closer to food. So that kind of led me into nutrition as a whole, and started seeing oh, wow, you can get way more results by just focusing on what you put in your body as opposed to the output that you're putting or physically exerting.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you just said that, because that's been my heart and passion and focus is not on so I'm studying energetic medicine. And so my focus is not on, so many people are restricting their calories and burning all these calories at the gym. And they're so concerned with output, by not feeding their soul and their spirit and their body, but what I want to help people with is realizing that, food and energy and everything is something we need to put into our body. And then by natural consequences, if you're putting good stuff in, then you can release all of the extra weight that you're carrying around just as like a natural side effect.
Yeah, I'm in full alignment with that. I think that it's overlooked. I mean, you can exercise all you want, but you can't outtrain a bad diet. And
Right.
honestly, even with that, like I think we've gotten so focused on some of the macro elements too much in these diets, and even with like fasting, and you can get really dogmatic on something, but for me it all just boils back to quality. Like I make sure that all my food's of highest quality source. Like for instance, today I'm super excited. We're going to one of the best barbecue places in Austin. It's called La Barbecue, and it's the only place in town that has grass-fed barbecue. So like out of all the places, that's my staple. And just I think when people, because like you have the carnivore diet, and right now I've done that. I've had like keto, and it's all macro focused, or just like focusing on one thing of the diet, like, oh, it's this type of food or this type of macronutrient ratio. But really, I'm like a firm believer in that quality trumps everything. And especially, I mean, we vote with our dollars every day. So when people vote in the election, that's like one area of your life that you vote. But I think every time you spend money, you really kind of put out there your beliefs. And so when you support local and you support grass-fed and grass-finished and all these high-quality foods, that's just like it's pushing those industries forward. So like huge, I go to farmers markets every week. Probably 80-90% of my shopping is done there. And I love that element of it.
Oh, totally agree with you. So where I live in California, and I live out in the country on a 5-acre little organic farm. And so we've bought like a quarter cow before.
Yeah.
Grass fed. And then at our farmer's market, it's awesome because they have like, healthy fed pork and beef and chicken. And so that's where I love getting, and their prices are really reasonable.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Like most people think that farmers markets are more expensive, but it's really about the same. And I think it's just and if you're into energetics, like the energetic quality of food, if something's picked that morning, do you think it's going to have a higher energy frequency than something that you get in whole food that might have exchanged hands 6 or 7 times? Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or picked green, stuck in a truck, gassed, and shipped across the country so that when it arrives at your grocery store, it's the perfect color so that you can buy it. Right?
Right. It's all staged for you. And like, vegetables aren't supposed to look the prettiest. It's like they're supposed to be dirty. Like pick them from the dirt, get that microbial benefit from the soil, and just enjoy. But it's just things taste so much better when they're picked soon. And even with meats, like when they're freshly slaughtered and not shipped across like 15 countries and get here freeze packaged and everything like that. It's just, you can taste the difference.
Yeah. And people have to realize, like, I think that a lot of people think that eating healthy is really expensive. And what I want to challenge people to do is to stop buying processed, like unhealthy food that's going to make you hungrier, and focus on more of like a whole food diet and, the meats and the vegetables and all of that. So they will not feel as hungry and they won't need as much food.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it. And especially what people think is expensive is crazy to me, because I mean, food is one area of my life I'm always like price insensitive. So I don't care how much I spend on food. It's just kind of a part of my life. I love food and I love quality food. So when people are like, oh my gosh, you spend like that much on this cut or that, and I haven't gotten sick. I've never had to see a doctor in the past 3 or 4 years. So for me, it's added up. I just invest in my health so I can perform and I don't have to take sick days and I don't have to slow down at all. So I think it kind of balances out in the long run, and people have no problem spending $50 at the bar, but they'll make they'll make 100 excuses of why they can't spend the extra $3 a pound for something quality.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. That is hilarious. And that is so true, right?
Yeah.
I don't care to go out to eat much just because of the inflammatory oils that they cook with. So I prefer to eat at home. And my husband and I's date night is we go to this little Chinese reflexology place where they do like a full hour, massage, foot rub, all that. Do you guys have those out there?
I'm pretty sure we do. I think Austin's pretty holistic, so I guarantee you there's some out there, but I've heard of what you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. So you're in your clothes, so you don't have to get all naked and oily, which is awesome. I bring my own lotion, so I don't have any of those added chemicals into my skin that they probably have in their crappy lotion.
Yeah.
And they spend an hour. So half an hour is on your feet and all your pressure points, all your reflexology points. And then they do like your cranium, your skull, your neck, your shoulders. It's fantastic. So that's like more of our date night so that, we can just still eat clean at home.
I mean, if you're cooking at home super clean too, you're going to feel amazing. And just going into that experience, I can't even imagine. That sounds awesome. I heard I was in the sauna this morning and I was talking to a lady who said her friends use for their date night, they both go into a float tank. And then that's how they start their night. Like they'll go into a float tank and then like spend the night at the town. But imagine starting the night off with that. Like you get on the same level, like doing a 90-minute float, and then you're just completely relaxed for the rest of the night.
Oh, that sounds just like heaven. I don't think I'd want to go out on the town after that, though.
Yeah.
No, I don't even want to go out to dinner. Like my husband's like, let's go out to dinner after a massage. I'm like, no way. I just want to go home and relax and play cards or something. So, okay, you've said a lot of things that I want to ask you more details about. So you mentioned carnivore and keto. So let's talk about your experience on either side of that.
Yeah. So keto, I'll start with keto because that's kind of the introduction. Keto, I got into 3 years ago. So I've been doing it for 3 years now. And the reason I did it, I was already pretty low carb. I, did intermittent fasting way back, and then got into like bulletproof diet and really focusing on the quality. And then after that, I was already pretty low carb. I actually found keto accidentally, but we were just like me and a couple of my college buddies were cutting weight for a music festival and just were like, oh, you know what? If we just eliminate carbs, let's try this. I see people on the internet doing it, might work. And it worked. Shed a lot of weight doing it. And I remember like at the time I was dating this girl and she's like, your breath smells really bad. Like, I don't know what you did, but I think you should start eating carbs again. I'm like, no way, I'm not doing it. So I realized now looking back that was the keto breath. And that's the first time I was in ketosis. So I really started diving deep because my grandma got diagnosed with lymphoma. And so I went to a keto conference in Tampa where Dr. Dominic D'Agostino was speaking and a bunch of the other leading researchers in the field were all speaking on keto and cancer. So I went there and just kind of since then, I never really looked back and just started diving deeper and deeper. And I just love the way I feel on it. It's something where I've always eaten a lot of meat and veggies, so it's really easy for me to eliminate the rest of the things. And in terms of the health benefits I see, like I said, just really never getting sick, and the focus during the day is a lot more, let's say, fluid as opposed to, when I'm eating higher carb and I have to keep kind of dosing up my carbs throughout the day.
Yeah.
But that said, it's not like I don't do well on carbs. Some people think that they're the devil. I don't I grew up in an Italian family, so I was eating bread all my life, like homemade bread, homemade meats, things like that. So I can handle them pretty well. And I also think that it's a mind over matter case in a lot of instances where people will basically negatively affirm this thing that's going to happen in their body. And of course, that thing will happen if you say it will. And it's just, I don't wake up every morning and write in my journal, I'm going to have a shitty day. So when you say, like, I'm going to get bloated from this food, you're literally affirming that.
Right.
So I think we get into the trap of, like, almost self-causing these food allergies because we're just constantly affirming this negative thing. Like, oh my God, I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to get bloated. I'm going to feel like crap afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's, I've just seen it it's one thing I've just noticed over the years, and I try to do the opposite. I lived with someone who kind of taught me the other realms. Like, he knew nothing about health, but, most positive guy ever met. And he, he would eat dairy, wheat, everything that I didn't eat. And I remember going out to eat one day with him. I'm just like, you know what? Like, this is going to be great. And he's like, yeah, we're going to eat Cubans. He's like, this is the best Cuban in town, and we're going to do it. And I don't eat pork because I'm intolerant to it. So, like, it's the only food that's ever shown up negative on my intolerance test. I think it's probably a sulfur thing. But I really don't eat pork, and I don't eat dairy or wheat in most cases. So, I had these Cubans, and, like, that entire night, we were just, like, enjoying ourselves. I was like, I'm gonna feel great. And, like, just like we were kind of just affirming it. And the whole night, like, I didn't have any problems. I slept well, and I woke up the next day and there was no harm done. So I love how the mind is one of the strongest tools in the human body. And I think I've been able to get more in touch with my mind being keto, and it's kind of like a clearing for the brain. I think, like, in terms of people use keto for weight loss and all these other benefits, but I think it's really a great reset for the mind, and it helps your mind get back to a stable point.
Yeah, and that's how I found keto, because my mom got diagnosed with Alzheimer's and Hashimoto's, like, seriously, back to back. It was pretty crazy. And I was looking for nutritional approaches to help my mom, because I've been studying nutrition since 2007. And I'm like, there's got to be a way that we can fix this with food. And so anyways, I ran into keto, and I seriously, like, doubted it like crazy, because I grew up in the 80s where, we didn't eat any fat. And I always thought that this was something that we needed. I've been an athlete forever. And anyways, I found it accidentally just doing research for her. And I studied it for a long time, also listening to Dr. Dominic D'Agostino, and so kind of a similar story. But the mind, it's crazy with all the brain things and how it can help. They call type 2 or Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy. And that's, I think, the number one reason, like, foundationally, that everyone should do keto, or at least start doing it. You don't have to do it your entire life, but at least, a couple months out of the year. I think it's just an investment in your health. Since cancer kind of runs in my family, and I've seen so many of my family members, I've just lost so many from it. I don't want that to happen ever again in my family. I don't want it to happen to me or any of my friends. And if it does start to happen, I want to point them in the right direction. And that's why I've been going to these conferences over the years. And, my network now, it's like I can see the doctors who are treating it and actually reversing a lot of cancers. And now that I've met people that have reversed their cancers and really just kick it with ketogenic therapies, it's like, wow, if any of my friends or family get that, I can point them in the right direction, or at least give them the nutritional therapy to help mitigate some of those symptoms and hopefully put them in a better state.
Oh, totally. And so do you know Dr. Nasha Winters?
Oh my gosh, I love her. She is an aura of bright light.
Oh, I love her. I interviewed her for the show, and then I found her at KetoCon because of Allison Gannett. A year and a half ago at KetoCon was speaking and showing her. Your company was there. Were you there at KetoCon in 2017? Yeah,
I was there, and I was actually with my previous company at that point. But I know all of Perfect Keto at that, so I was hanging out with them there. But yeah, I went to KetoCon the past 2 years.
Okay, so Allison Gannett spoke, and she showed her scans of her ovaries and her breast tissue. And so I'm actually interviewing her on Friday because she was such an inspiration to me. And, she was able to heal herself from cancer. Also, Logan Sneed, who's a brain tumor survivor, he had brain glioblastoma when he was like 19 or something, really young. So I'm with you on that big time. So talk a little bit about the carnivore that you did, Anthony.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point too, Logan Sneed, I'm actually seeing him tomorrow.
Oh, is he a friend of yours?
He's an awesome here. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go hang out with him tomorrow. But that's one of the friends I was referring to who reversed his cancer, which is pretty miraculous.
Yeah, it was really miraculous. And he was just, he's so cute. And so anyways, but I was just like blown away. And there's so many people that I know, including my father. My father's on his 5th round or I think he's had cancer 5 or 6 times. And one day he was doing his chemo, and I called him and I'm like, "What are you doing, Dad?" He's like, "Oh, eating candy and cookies." And I'm like,
God.
"Are you freaking kidding me?" And he said, "My doctor said it doesn't matter what I eat, Tracy. And you're not a doctor. I'm not listening to you." And I was just like, just breathing smoke and fire,
I can only imagine. There's only so much you can do at that stage too. It's very frustrating, but I've been there in that case.
Yeah, and it's like, what a way to stay in business. Give your patients candy and cookies so that they can keep feeding those cancer cells while you're trying to kill them with chemo.
It's awful. And I mean, just to segue, I think this is where the carnivore diet comes into place, because it's a good reset for the body as well. Like keto can be a good reset, but I think carnivore is too, especially for the gut. And for me, it's like the ultimate elimination diet. So I started doing it back in March because I think there was a couple of people doing it at the time as an experiment. I listened to lectures or a talk by Amber O'Hearn, and she was doing it for like 7 years. I was like, so if she's doing it for 7 years, there's got to be, she's still has great blood work and she's healthy. So I talked to Ryan Muncie, who wrote a huge blog post and experiment with his blood results, kind of how he did it. And that convinced me to do it. So I tried it out and had amazing results. I felt great the whole time. Like my energy, it took a little bit of time, I'd say like a couple weeks for my energy to get back up, but it did. And I was feeling great. I leaned out to the lowest weight I've been since probably like college or even high school. And it was nice because I was getting in more protein. So my strength at the gym seemed to, like, it dipped at first, but then it definitely increased because I was eating so much protein. I think all the red meat and the creatine and the carnitine really just jacked up that performance.
Okay, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, and then, so our founder here at Perfect Keto, Anthony Augustin, he did a long, like, I want to say like 50-something days of carnivore, and he had amazing results too. But the people I see always have the best results, and even with their blood work and everything, are all doing it in a way that's quality carnivore, like focusing on grass-fed meats, grass-fed, grass-finished, eating organ meats every so often, and focusing on the quality aspect as opposed to, I'm just going to eat, grain-fed everything and go in and out and this and that. And I think that's one area I'm just more dead set on now than anything. Like, if someone's going to do carnivore, yeah, it could get a little expensive, but if you really want to do it, I think it should be approached in the same way as keto, in that you're not going to do it for 1 week and stop. Like, you don't see the benefits there. Your body doesn't really fully adapt. And, with keto, you obviously have to do it so your body can enter that state and reset its machinery for a while and get to that fat burning capacity. And I think it's the same for carnivore. Your body has to get used to a lack of fiber and other fats coming from different sources. So it kind of uses that protein and it becomes better at gluconeogenesis when it needs to. But other than that, I mean, I love it. My diet right now is like 80 to 90% carnivore. And I just kind of have that as a template because it's where I feel best. But like I said, I focus on quality meats and eating liver too. I'm fortunate enough to have friends that hunt. So like the other day, my friend just bought me a full venison liver. So I've just been kind of cooking that up the past week. And I mean, it's very easy to get all these organ meats at the market, which is so awesome. I don't think people realize that the cheapest cuts are the organ meats, and they're the most nutritious part of the animal. So if you can make them taste good, then
Okay, so that therein lies a question. How do you make them taste good? I can't even handle the small tip of a filet mignon because I can taste the liver in it and I just can't stand it. You know, I'd rather order the huge big cut and then eat half of it versus get the small petite filet and then gag on it because it's yucky. So what's your secret?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways, and I think it's picking the right liver too. So if you get a regular liver at the store and it's not grass fed, grass finished, you'll taste the difference immediately between the one that's grass fed and the one that's not. Just the pungency alone, it's like in your face, which is, I mean, I don't like that at all either. I also find that all of the different animals have different tasting livers. So in my experience, I've tried almost every type of liver now, and I think that lamb and venison have the most mild flavor to me, at least. And so like picking one of those. So if someone's going to have an introduction to liver, like choose the one with the most mildest flavor. So that would be the lamb. So get like a grass-fed lamb liver. And then cooking it, I would always just do, if you're eating some vegetables with it, like some mushrooms and onions, always pair well with liver because they have those earthy, like umami tones, and they pair beautifully with that. So, sauteing that up with some ghee, and then usually I just pick like one herb. So I had a rosemary bush in my backyard in California and would just always use rosemary for my dishes. And that kind of cuts the flavor and adds a new dimension. So really butter, herb, salt, and then if you want, saute the onions and mushrooms, and you've got a recipe for success. Like most people are going to be able to eat that and it's going to taste very good. I mean, I'm a weirdo and I can eat it raw, but most people are not like me. So
Oh my goodness. Okay, so where can you find a grass-fed lamb liver? Does Whole Foods carry that?
Whole Foods is not going to have lamb. Whole Foods will have the beef. I've found 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef, and you can cook it in the same way, and it should taste pretty good. And when the way you're cutting that too, you're just cutting it up into thin strips, so you can really get the butter and everything coated around there. And the liver you can find at like most farmers markets will have it.
Okay.
If you have a lamb vendor at your farmers market, they'll have it. I had a butcher shop that could specially request it. They sold all lamb meats, but they never, because what happens sometimes with the butchers is they send the offal and all the organ meats off to another processor or someone else gets it. So you have to special request it, but most butchers will work with you and they have access to it since they're processing the meat.
Okay, that's good to know because I really understand the importance of eating organ meats. I'm just trying to find a way to get them in my body without not being palatable. And Danny Vega was on my show and we were talking about this, and he was saying he mixes it in with his ground beef, so it's kind of hides it or whatever.
Yeah, no, that's a great strategy as well. I think if you just, you chop it up finely and you can mix it into ground beef, and you can even make burgers out of it. And some farmers will actually do a meat where it's like 50% liver, 50% ground beef, and you really can't taste the liver. So I think that, when you mix it like that, it really takes away almost all of the flavor. It doesn't it won't shine through at all.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm going to try it. You've motivated me to try it again. So
Liver burgers. Let's go.
I want to go back to the carnivore because I really want to try this for myself. Okay, because my favorite food on the planet is grass-fed ground beef, and I make my own homemade taco seasoning with like cumin and chili powder and paprika and all that. And I could live off of that. And Danny and I were joking around about, I call it carnicado because I like it with avocado.
Yeah.
And anyway, so talk to me a little bit about how do you set up a carnivore meal plan? And you just said you were about 90% carnivore. What's the other 10%?
The other 10% is foods that I really enjoy or if I want. So I just, over the weekend, I took my intro to a sommelier course. So after being in wine for 2 years, I mean, that's still a huge part of my life. So I will have wine. And when I'm having wine, I always make sure it's sugar-free. I drink dry farm wines, and I know how to source wine now from clean regions. So that's like a part of my life that I'm not going to give up and not go 100% cold turkey. Coffee, and I love 100% chocolate too. So I'll eat those things from time to time. And then also, like, if you feel like it, I feel like on carnivore, and I've gotten this anecdotally from a couple friends that I've done it with, that if you're having trouble with your bowel movements, having basically one meal with fiber can just end up flushing that out. So instead of like a carb up, you basically do a fiber up and just have a meal with high fiber, whatever that is, not like lettuce based stuff, but more like, if you can tolerate it, a good amount of broccoli, or even at the time we tried out just like a Quest bar because it has like 15 grams, and just in that one thing, and like just eating that, the body was like, it sensed fiber, and it was like, okay, done. Like that kind of accelerated the bowels as well.
You know what would work really well is chia seeds.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. That would be a phenomenal source. I'd maybe just like a chia seed smoothie or something like that. And something like that, that's easy. Your body would just pick it up and go ahead and it'll take the reins from there.
Okay, so you've just made my brain start going. Okay, so my favorite protein powder that I've been drinking for years is Equip, the chocolate protein powder with 3 ingredients.
I love it. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it. And I have it every single day. And what I'd like to do is put it in Greek yogurt. Like right now I'm using the Kite Hill because I'm trying to get back off of dairy. So I use the Kite Hill almond milk yogurt, and I put the protein powder in that, and then chia seeds.
Oh my gosh, that sounds delicious. I mean, the beef, I'm really hoping that we bring that into Perfect Keto. Because that's my favorite protein as well, and we just came out with a whey, but honestly, the beef isolate is it's awesome, and I think that's like the ideal carnivore protein if you're on carnivore, since it's still coming from beef.
Oh yeah, I've been using it for a long time. So my question is that protein powder, is that considered carnivore?
Well, once again, it's like, how dogmatic with it do you want to be? Some people, if you're really struggling with a health issue, then yeah, you should probably just do like grass-fed meat and water for 30 days, give it a shot and see how you feel as like the reset. I'd probably say like 60 days, but if you're really like struggling with a health issue, but if you're using it as a tool, then like just make it sustainable, kind of like keto, like just make it what works for you. If that protein powder helps, especially if you're trying to get your protein up for workouts, because what I've noticed is that a lot of people that do carnivore actually end up losing more weight than they want to. So if that's a way for you to increase your protein, increase your calories, and really add in some more of that fuel, then that's fine. Like, then that's carnivore. It's coming from an animal source, and you might have a little bit of the sweetener in there, but if it's helping you stick to everything else, then by all means.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know, because I do want to try it, but there's certain things that I can't give up, like my coffee. I'm never going to give it up. I'm not even going to try. I love my coffee, but I love it with MCT oil and, a little bit of stevia and a little cinnamon, and that's it. You know,
how do you brew your coffee?
how do I brew it?
Yeah,
Just regular coffee.
like a drip coffee.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just curious. Like I'm a huge coffee guy as well,
Or I do
but
a
I
French
just
press. I also do French.
oh
When it's just me, I do French press. But if I'm brewing like a pot for the family, you know, because there's more than me here, then I do it in the coffee pot.
gotcha. Have you ever tried a pour over?
No, but I just bought my son something like that. Isn't a French press similar to a pour over?
So a French press is just going to be full immersion. So the beans are soaking in the hot water. Everything's coming through in the coffee. It produces a much fuller bodied cup
Okay.
because all of the natural oils are getting in there as well. It's just kind of, it's just like an immersion brew.
Okay.
So everything's seeping, time period done, press it, pour. But with the pour over, it's usually going through some kind of filter. So you're finding out some of those oils. So it produces a much cleaner cup like in the finished product. And some might say, I mean, you're removing some of the beneficial oils from the coffee, but not really. It's really about like the flavor and the taste profile at the end. When I started doing pour over, I realized that, coffee can actually taste like wine and still have some of those same flavor notes, and you can actually pick them out, which is crazy because coffee is just like wine where you can taste the soil in which it's grown as long as it's prepared correctly.
Okay, so I will have to try that. I did interview Todd from Dry Farm Wines, and it's funny because when you first came on the show and you said some of the things that you said, I kind of had a feeling that you used to work there. And
Yep.
he was so sweet. He invited me to like their place and to go do meditation with them and all that. He was really cool.
And I think you absolutely should if you get the chance. It is a profound experience, and it's really cool, the company culture that he set up there, and just it's daily meditations. I was there, so every day 10 a.m. meditation and gratitude, and I think that has I wish that was part of corporate culture in America, because I think our nation people would be a lot less stressed.
Yeah.
And get that, just like it forces you to actually take, and we're not taking 10 minutes, we're taking the hour in most cases.
You know
and that's a great way to start the day.
I 100% agree. I actually, because I'm studying energy medicine, what I'm actually even more into is, so when you're meditating, you're basically clearing your mind space. But what I find is even better is Qigong and Tai Chi, because you're actually bringing energy into your body. We're always like using energy, but there's a lot of ways that we can bring energy in that we're not taking advantage of just because we don't understand it yet as a culture.
So that's really interesting. Are you I know I have a friend that practices Qigong, and he's recommended it to me. I just don't know where to get started. Would you have to go to an instructor, or what's the best way to incorporate that?
Okay, so I have a guy who taught me the form, and he is a Chinese medicine doctor, and he'll do it over Skype for you. But the crazy thing is the master guy that that is part of our system, or that developed our form, lives in Napa and has this big ranch out in Napa. And because he's so in tune with the earth, I mean, this sounds really crazy, but there's flowers on his ranch that bloom year round that are not supposed to. His trees bloom year round, and it's just because of the energy he's bringing to his property. And something else interesting that I heard is that, okay, this sounds like far-fetched, but it's crazy how it's really real. You can take like 3 glasses of wine. You can take one as the control and put it away out of the room somewhere else. And then you can have like my teacher and then his wife will do this like Qigong little short practice over the wine. And then they can give it blindly to a person to taste all 3 glasses, and they all have a different flavor.
No way.
Yeah. And
That's incredible.
so it's amazing. And my focus is really on helping people age stronger. And that's like the book I'm working on and my programming and everything I'm doing, because I feel like so much of our country is settling for sedentary lifestyles and popping pills. And we're spending money as a nation that is just really going to feed big pharma's pockets, you know? And so anyways, Qigong and Tai Chi, I'm learning how to do them for myself personally. And then I want to be an instructor because I work at the YMCA and teach fitness classes. And so I want to be able to, you know, incorporate that as well. So it's a yin yang, you know, I teach boot camp and weightlifting and spin and TRX and that. And then we do the Tai Chi, Qigong, and yoga to create more of a balance.
Wow. So you really bring all the elements in, which I really appreciate. And so with that, like with the Qigong, is he the guy in Napa? Is that like a certification that you get, or just an instructor class?
So Master Wee lives in Napa, and what you need to do is learn Qigong, practice it. It's called Pan Gu Shen Gong is the practice. And you learn it. I can hook you up with my friend Keith, and he's actually going to be in Tampa when I go at the end of the month. And then he will teach you the practice yourself. And then you have to do all these other things. And then you can go to the Napa Ranch, and then you can like get certified to be an instructor. I think it takes about a year.
Oh, that's well worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah. And then Keith told me about Tai Chi, because Qigong really helps us heal on an emotional, deep level, spiritually, like a soul, like emotional level. But the Tai Chi actually is a physical healing that is so deep it affects your bone marrow.
Wow. So that's the next level after Qigong. Oh, I mean, they're different practices, but I guess Qigong would be your foundation, your base.
I would start with Qigong so you can understand the energetic capacity that we have as humans. What I'm studying is it's called bioenergetics, and it basically is down to the subatomic level, and it combines Chinese meridians with the subatomic particles in your body, which are responsible for the field of energy communication in your body. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so Chinese meridians are basically, would that be like similar to chakras?
It's part of the whole system. Like it has chakras and it has energetic meridians that run through your whole body. That's what like acupuncture points are, is it's based on the meridians. But it also takes the meridians and the chakras and all of that, which is an energetic fields, and it gets down to a physical space, which is your subatomic particles. So like your cells are made of atoms, and atoms are made of, you know, protons and neutrons and quarks and, you know, and electrons and all that. And so those are the actual basis of communication in your body.
Okay.
So it's really complicated, but it's pretty amazing at what we can do to help our bodies, you know, just be healthier and happier and stronger. So
yeah, and just from a foundational level too, like that's something that gets overlooked. I mean, meditation is the craze, but like I can't wait for the day that, you know, Tai Chi and Qigong become more widely practiced, because I've done a couple Qigong exercises too, and I really it's like very gentle movements, like meditative movements, which it's really awesome. And I would love to get in touch with a master who can teach that.
Yeah, I'll introduce you to Keith. He is amazing. And he's taught me so much. And what's really cool is when you're meditating, like I have a hard time meditating, but doing this has replaced my meditation. You can feel the energy in between your hands.
Yes. Oh man, that's a cool feeling. I did an exercise like that at Burning Man this past year, and it was a guy teaching something similar to that, and just to feel the energies. It was like a couple, you know, rubbing your hands together and feeling the heat, and then kind of moving them apart, moving them close together, and trying to feel the energy in certain points. And what would happen to my hands, even like when I was wearing jewelry and when I was wearing things on my wrist, and how like when I removed those and just had everything free, how I could feel the energy so much more. So
Ah.
it's cool to see how like, you could be wearing stuff that could kind of mess up the flow of that energy.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. And there's other things that mess up our flow of our energy that people don't even think about, such as when people get a root canal, or when they have a tooth implant, like a foreign substance in your body. There's all kinds of things, like women with bras, the underwires really screws up energy. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but there's so much that's true. Like women in Africa that don't like bind themselves and wear this, restrictive flow bras like people do in the US, they have a very low risk of breast cancer. And I'm sure there's environmental toxins and all kinds of other things that play at it. But Keith, the one I'm going to introduce you to, he says that that's a really important thing.
Oh, I believe it 100%, just because, I mean, whenever you're restricting something, that energy is getting bottled up and suppressed into one area or another, and the suppression of anything is not good, especially if it's internally in the human body.
Correct. We call them energetic distortions and blockages. So, okay, I want to ask you one more question. We're running out of time, and I have so much more I want to ask you. Okay, so when a person starts out on carnivore, do you recommend them doing some sort of a macro calculator, or just being really intuitive with their body and with their actual physical hunger?
I think more intuition than anything. I've always been against macro. Now I think that macros can be a really good tool to help you hit very specific goals, but I think at first, just being intuition based and kind of eat when you're hungry and really just stick to quality foods would be the most helpful, and not like depriving yourself too. I think another thing that people try to do is, oh my God, I need to like fast. And you could be telling your body could be saying like, oh my God, I'm starving. And you could be like, no, I need to extend my fasting window by like 4 more hours. So if your body's telling you it's really hungry, especially when you're switching, like if you're trying to dial it down the road and you want to get back on your schedule, your body will naturally adjust to that. But early on in the adaptation is really important, just to listen to your body and eat as much as you want. I mean, all of the people that are having success, at least from what I've noticed, are eating a good amount. I mean, out of all of the anecdotal evidence from women I've seen, most of these women are eating over 2 pounds a day of meat, which most people are like, oh my gosh, that's so much. But, when you think about it, when you're just eating meat, let's say a serving of ground beef is 200 calories, a pound of that is 800 calories. So if you eat 2 pounds, it's only 1,600 calories.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say add a tablespoon of butter, then you're at 1,800 calories, depending on the fat level. And that's really like, maybe that's the staple of your diet, but that's 2 pounds of meat, just to put it into perspective. So, what most people, if you're only used to eating, half a pound of meat a day, it could be quite a jump. But I think just kind of realizing that first, that it's not a lot, and that your body's going to use these calories just in a different way, is a good perspective to have going into it.
Yeah, and I think some people have broken metabolisms, and so they need to retrain their body to actually utilize the food that they eat, and all of the nutrients in the food, and fix their metabolism.
Exactly. And when you're getting a lot of this, like the readies in general, it's really, I think what goes overlooked is not just vitamin contents of food, but minerals. And when you get more mineral density from something, it really helps set the foundation. Like if we're talking about, Qigong and Tai Chi, I think minerals are the Qigong to the body, and vitamins would be the Tai Chi. Like it's just that kind of that layering and that foundational. Even when you're first going keto, when I was coaching people, and I noticed that the number one thing that people struggle with is obviously energy right off the bat, but it wasn't anything food related. It was really just a salt thing. So I would tell people to increase their salt, and as soon as they did, everything fixed. And, it's something as simple as that. You don't think it's anything complex, but just the mineral salt. So I recommend, if people are, recommending that or experiencing that energy dip, especially going carnivore, just increase your salt and see what happens. And then eventually you'll reach a balance, say a month down the road, and you won't have to eat that much salt. But I think just kind of making sure that that's at the forefront and making sure you're getting enough of those electrolytes is good. If you're already keto, it should be an easy transition, but nonetheless, it's still a transition for the body.
Yeah, and I really recommend the salt too. I do a teaspoon every morning in some lemon water and shoot it down. And if I don't, I notice a difference in my performance at the gym. So,
oh, yeah. I mean, well, people think that water is hydration, but you don't stay hydrated if you don't have the electrolytes to hold it into place. So you can be drinking a gallon of water. It's just going to go right through you if there's no electrolytes present.
Yeah, it's funny because even before I was keto, we lived near a mountain, and my husband and I were on a mountain bike ride, and it was like 100 degrees. He's really crazy. He makes me go out he loves the heat. And I kind of bonked on this climb, and I started feeling a little lightheaded. And so he gave me some salt, just like a salt pack, and I put it in, and bam, it's like instant.
Yeah. And that's what I always carry. I have a little like vial of Redmond salt with me at all times. And people always know me as, the salt guy at a restaurant. I'm always pulling out my own salt. One, because the restaurant salt they usually get is like pretty crappy.
Yeah.
And then, two, it's just like my body just wants more of that salt. So I bring it everywhere. And I do find that that's pretty much the best cure, especially when people have hangovers. Like, drink a bunch of salt, maybe some ketones, and let's reverse this right away.
Okay, so you just brought up something that we need to close with. Talk about Perfect Keto's products. Okay, so I love the, oh my God, what is it called? The base? Is it? No, it's not base.
The base is the ketone.
The base is the beta hydroxybutyrate, correct?
That's right.
So it has a bitterness to it. What do you like to mix it with to counter the bitterness?
Honestly, I think the new formulations, well, it depends on which flavor you're drinking, but the chocolate's my favorite, and it just tastes like chocolate milk to me. I would just recommend, like, if you're mixing it with a good amount of water, then it shouldn't have the bitterness, but I think if you really want to counteract it, maybe some almond milk, and then it will actually be chocolate milk. So doing something like that would really just make a difference. The vanilla, I think, has zero bit of bitterness at all. So it just depends on your flavor. But that's one of my favorite supplements too, just because it's like you can use it any part of the day. And I find that it really helps keep me focused. Also, the beta hydroxybutyrate's bound to magnesium and calcium and some other minerals that are actually helping boost that electrolyte content, which I think is also very important. But I think they just help kind of keep hunger at bay and also just add more water in as well. I feel like I always reach for a cup of coffee, and now I'm starting to replace that with, okay, maybe if I want that same type of mental energy, at least my perception of it, I'll just go for an entire glass of ketones, or fill up a water bottle and then just have some basically flavored water with a little bit of brain energy and stay focused, as opposed to reaching for that extra cup of caffeine.
So if you take the chocolate and you mix it with water or like a coconut milk or something like that, then it can be kind of like a smoothie.
Oh, absolutely. I think when I first got here, I was doing a bunch of recipes with just like the combination of all of our products. And I think one of the best smoothies I made, and it was just Perfect Keto products. And I think I used the Equip at the time too. It was the Equip chocolate protein, the beef isolate. So I used a scoop of that, and then a scoop of the chocolate collagen, a scoop of the salted caramel base, and maybe some ice and almond milk. And it tasted like this heavenly dessert that reminded me of my childhood in some way. It was like a chocolate caramel rich smoothie, and everything just tasted delicious. So I think if you like chocolate, our chocolate products are my personal favorite, but I'm a big chocoholic myself. So it's really easy to make a delicious chocolate smoothie with anything we have.
Okay, I'm going to try your chocolate. I haven't tried the chocolate because I'm always using the chocolate Equip. So I will try your guys' chocolate and see how that works.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that the base, it would be a really great thing to have in the afternoon when you need to kind of get some more mental clarity.
Yeah, I think it's great in the afternoon. Also, if you do morning workouts as well, like if you are the type of person that gets up and goes to the gym right away, I was doing that for my morning workouts. So just like I would just take, instead of getting a coffee once again, I would just grab a thing of ketones and just drink that during my workout or drink it right before. I think it's like during workout, it just kind of keeps that hydration flowing. But yeah, it helps with really any occasion. I don't think you can really overdo it. Some people get GI upset if you're drinking it too fast and like drink an entire scoop in a minute. But other than that, I think it's pretty easy to take it slow.
Well, I'll tell you what else I love. I love your guys' keto bars.
Oh my gosh. Well, I have some good news. I don't know if you knew this already, but we're going to be coming out with some new flavors soon. And I got to test, I'm on our product sampling team, so I got to test all of those yesterday, and they are absolutely delicious. And I think the new flavors are going to be, I mean, like I said, I'm a big chocolate person, but the new flavors are just going to take it to the next level. Like it's going to be, the possibilities with those, especially, it's like a secret of ours, like not even a secret, like we just promote this as much as possible within the company, but just dipping the bars in our nut butter, and then if you just layer the top of a bar with nut butter and then put it in the freezer, it's like an ice cream bar. Like you'll never need to go get dessert ever again.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to order that then. Okay, that sounds delicious. You know what we need to do is get you into Sprouts and Whole Foods, because yesterday I was in Sprouts in San Jose, okay, so, you know, metropolitan mecca of the world, and there was not a single protein bar that I would eat. No bars, nothing. Nothing had the proper macros. Nothing had proper ingredients. The only bars that I have ever eaten that qualify, in my opinion, is Julian Bakery. But your guys' new one is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's crazy. That's honestly part of the reason I think why Anthony developed this bar is you go to all these places and there's never really a healthy option. Like there's never, and even the low carb bars out there aren't keto friendly. So we did blood sugar testing on all these bars, and we found that most of the keto bars or low carb bars or other bars on the market that are in the same category, not going to name any names, but all rose your blood sugar by around 10 to 30 points, depending on what it is, sometimes upwards up into like the 120, 130 range, which is kind of insane just for being like a low carb. So it could be some of these other fibers and fillers that they're putting into it that are really having that blood sugar effect. But ours kept it flatline, no more of a raise than 5. Some people experience 10 at max. And that's really honestly going to help keep your energy level stable and your mood stable, because there's no fluctuations and no crashing, no spikes and troughs in your blood sugar.
Yeah. And that's really important, because that's what's going to determine, you know, your hunger throughout the day. And people don't realize that. And another thing, when you have an insulin response in your body, it doesn't just last that day. It carries out for a couple days. So yeah. People need to be careful of that, because the inflammation ramifications are great.
Exactly. And it's crazy to me how a lot of people don't attribute with or how they feel with the foods that they eat. It's just kind of this assumption that's been flying under the radar, like, oh, you know, like eating is such a habit for us as humans that it's something that we just overlook. Like you can go out to a bar and drink 15 beers and wake up hungover the next day and be like, okay, it was the beers that made me hungover. No problem. I pinpointed the problem. But if you go eat lunch at a place and eat something that wasn't the best and then feel pretty down in the dumps a couple hours later, you don't even think it was the food. You're just like, oh, I just feel awful. but without even thinking that it might be something that you ate.
It's so funny because I mountain bike with my husband, and I have my brake hand, my right hand, my thumb knuckle. One time we were on this hill, and it was so scary going down that I like brake the whole way. Now that's my trigger finger. So whenever I eat like something that like at a restaurant, it's always at a restaurant, of course, that, you know, inflame my body, I can feel it in that thumb knuckle.
Wow, that's really good body awareness. I wonder, I bet the Qigong and all the other holistic practices help with that, though.
Possibly, but it's pretty interesting. And isn't there, okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, you probably know, but Dave Asprey, I thought he had some sort of an app that you can take your pulse before you eat and then after you eat to see if there was a food reaction.
Yes, I believe he does. I don't know the name of it offhand, but I know he does have an app like that.
That's interesting.
That would be, I mean, another way that people can test the way that they react to foods is just blood sugar itself. Like your body will tell you if it's creating a stress response or something that probably shouldn't have ingested. Even like little things too. Like some people just might have an inflammatory reaction to certain proteins or certain vegetables, anything really. But I think your blood sugar can be a really good and really cheap way of doing that too. A lot of people just get hung up on your ketone levels, but I think the blood sugar is a much more valid marker on what's going on in the body as opposed to your ketone levels.
Right. Absolutely. Well, insulin is actually supposed to even be better, but that's really difficult to test for. So, So when you said you had a food sensitivity test done, what kind did you have done?
The first one I got done was the Pinner test, and I heard it on, I think, Ryan Muncie's podcast, and I had it done and really just didn't like, there was pork and maybe one other thing. It was like traditional dairy that was on there. And then I had another one done by Everlywell, and that one didn't show any major sensitivities at all. Same thing again, it just kind of showed traditional dairy as a sensitivity, and then some other things, like I think it was like mild sensitivities on there, like some almond, coconuts, things like that, but it wasn't anything. I think food sensitivity tests are pretty, like they're all over the place because your gut bacteria changes, and the way, like depending on what you ate could really impact that as well. So I don't know if there's a true way to measure food sensitivities anymore. And if there is, then it's got to be pretty expensive. I'm just not an expert on that, so I can't speak on that. But I think right now, I just kind of, with Carnivore, you just get back to that baseline. So just eliminate everything and then see how you do with quality meat. And then you can go from there and start adding things back in slowly. But I think you can really measure something when you're in tune with your body. Like you said, and you can notice that when it's affecting certain parts and when you eat something that doesn't agree. And I think like I've noticed that personally with even when I have pork, like I've tried to reintroduce pork, and every time I do, I tend to get just like kind of a puffy layer of bloating, and that doesn't go away for like 2 days, and a little bit of brain fog. And then with egg yolks and broccoli, I just get really bloated and gassy, and I just like, it's not enjoyable. So those are the things that I think all of those foods in common they're high sulfur foods. So I'm usually fine when I do egg whites, but I mean, obviously I'd rather have a steak than egg whites, which are pretty nutrient empty. So it's like sulfur. So I just kind of stay away from things that have that high sulfur content. And
I would be careful because there's medications out there that have sulfa that may affect you in a really negative way. I have a sulfa sensitivity to food, so I can't take, to a medication that makes me not be able to breathe. And here's something interesting to share with you that you hopefully will experience yourself. So remember Master Wee, the Chinese master that has the place in Napa. So he was doing an advanced Qigong training there, and one of his students has an anaphylactic response to shellfish. He said to her, "Don't worry," because he cooks for his students. He said, "Don't worry, you will be fine." And she was freaking out, but she trusts him because of his energy, right? She ate shellfish with no reaction.
That's it. Like I said, it's just like the brain, the energy, everything. It's priming your body to be able to do something. I mean, think about if she was out at a restaurant and then if like she found out that she had shellfish in something. Like if you found out and you were prepared, then you'd be like, oh my God, I can't do that. So you would literally send your own body into that response. Whereas like in that situation, he primed her and was like, this is going to be fine, set her intention. Now her intention and the way she processes things is like, this might be fine.
Is that crazy?
Then, it kind of goes just the way things are framed are the way they're perceived and then the way we handle them afterwards.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I love learning. I mean, I'm 53 years old. I could be your mother. My oldest son's 25. He lives in New York. But I'm like constantly studying and learning everything I can because I just find that, with my sick parents, that there is a way that we can age stronger and feel younger, and there's so much to learn from. And you've taught me a lot today, so I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I've learned a lot today in general too with the Qigong, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. I know we could probably talk for another couple of hours.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's been an amazing podcast, and thank you for doing what you do. I'm inspired to have more conversations like this and to spread that knowledge as well.
Wow, was that not a great chit chat that we had? We could have gone on for hours. Now, to find Anthony, please head on over to perfectketo.com. For complete show notes, head on over to bewellbeketo.com. Thank you so much for listening and make it a super day. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.